welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. I am your host, Chamon Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. Let's take a look at the market this morning. You're welcome back, and once again, my name is Chamon Dabeng. Well, in a recent report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria's foreign trade grew as imports rose significantly and showed a marginal increase in exports, resulting in an unfavorable trade balance in the third quarter of 2021. Total imports in the third quarter showed an increase of 0.32% quarter on quarter and 51.47% on a year-on-year basis, while the country's total exports were pegged at 1% growth compared to the second quarter of the same year and a 71.38% growth compared to the third quarter of 2020. Now, joining me on the show today to talk about Nigeria's import bill is public affairs analyst and business consultant Agaba Wilson. Agaba, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, so what do you think about these figures, this recent NBS foreign trade in goods statistics report? It came out on Monday.
All right. Basically, first of all, let's look at what we mean by balance of payment. Mm-hmm. The balance of payment, simply put, is the difference in transaction between a country and the rest of the world. So this is Nigeria. All the things we sell to the rest of the world and all the things we buy from the rest of the world, if we subtract it, that is what we call our balance of trade. And to break it a little bit down, the balance of trade has two major components. You have the current account and then you have the capital account. Now, the capital account has to do with financial instrument transactions and central bank reserves when broadly defined. Then where I think we are going to focus mostly on today's discussion is the current account, which has to do with trade in goods and services, incomes, transfers, and we call it current transfer. I will remember the fourth one and then I will talk about it as we go along. Now let's focus on the trade, which is export and import of goods and services. This is where the current account generally, that is where you check how well the economy is doing, how the productivity level of an economy is rising or decreasing, how the economy is saving, or how the economy is spending. All right? So let's take a look at quickly what comprises this, and then we want to look at the goods and services aspect of it. Now, for instance, if you look at the Nigerian economy, we are mostly an import-dependent economy.
True.
Because over time, the situation in our economy or in our country has discouraged production. And then we'll move quickly to import as a quick way of meeting the local demands of our people. So what do we not import in Nigeria? Let's start from clothing, jewelries, cosmetics, raw materials. Even things that we have in abundance here are imported from other countries. And what that does is to take up our bill for import. So we are paying more to other economies. driving productivity in other economies than we are driving in ours. So we buy finished goods and we use it here. Now, assuming you are spending on raw materials and goods that are used for processing other goods, that won't be a bad idea. If we are spending so much on machineries, that won't be a bad idea, because in turn it's going to generate economic activities in your own local economy, which will in turn make you churn out more finished goods. And then if you look at what do we sell to make money from the outside, if you look at the things we export, there are not too many. Our cash cow for Forex is oil.
Oil, yeah.
So when the international oil price goes down, we have problems.
Yeah.
When it goes up, we have problems still. Because you look at the local consumption of the finished product, which is the PMS, diesel, and other things. All right. So because as it is, the government is still even subsidizing PMS. And we consume close to about 40 million liters per day or so. That's a lot of money. So the extra money that we make by selling at a higher price, we also use it to subsidize for our consumption. And the discussion under the subsidy and local consumption and the frauds and all of that going on there is a discussion for another day.
All right, so let me ask you, now we talk about importing a lot of our raw materials into to other
finished
foreign
goods
countries.
Mostly.
Finished goods.
Yes, we usually export raw materials.
Exactly. Yes,
and
that's
then
actually
we
where I was
import
coming
finished
to.
goods.
And the fact that we actually export these things, like we do grow certain fruits here,
Yes.
but then you find a situation where you're importing things like ice cream or yogurt and the rest of them for consumption here within the country.
Yeah. You see, the challenge
And
is...
also, I think oil is one of those that we actually export and then come back with we haven't
with the
really
finished
put in
product.
that.
Yeah, exactly. We export cocoa as it is, the cocoa bean, and then we go and import chocolates and the rest of it. Now, these are things that we must look at, all right? If we want, the balance of payment theoretically should be zero within any period. That means you are importing an equal amount of what you are exporting. But in practice, it's never like that, because due to the level of due to the economic stage of each economy or each country, they are unable to meet their local demand. And sometimes due to what nature has blessed the country with, you may not have enough to equate what you get from outside. And all of those, there are other factors that we can discuss another day. Now, basically, what we need to do as a country is to look at value addition. And this has been emphasized so much, and it can never be overemphasized. We need to look at value addition. We must not sell cocoa and import chocolate. Let's make cocoa into chocolate. There are other byproducts that could be useful, and let us put them to use here again. Right, we are creating more jobs.
There is now the question of technical know-how, should I say? Is that is that how I should phrase it? Because even with our refineries and the rest of them, us exporting oil, how much have we actually put into research and development so we can actually process it here within the country? And I feel like that problem would apply to every other item or every other raw material that we could actually develop to a finished product.
You see, the problem is not about technical know-how, because where there is a way, there is a will. If you go back to the history of man, man was just hunting and gathering. He eats fruits, he kills animals and eats them raw. Over time, out of necessity, man began to carve things that he can use to cut other things, to cut tree downs, to cut the skin of an animal and all of that. Over time, man discovered fire and started experimenting by roasting and then cooking and all of that. And today we have what we have. So we cannot say technical know-how is preventing us from going in the way of manufacturing.
Provide the opportunity,
of course,
and the development will come.
Of course. So if we go into it, the need will arise for new set of skills. And then we will also find solution to the skills issue. But I'm telling you that most of the things we just export our raw materials for, we don't lack the skills to process them here. It is the will that we lack. And then, of course, we have the corruption issue here, and we have a lot of things that you see, when I want to talk about these things, I wish we have 3 hours, 4 hours to talk about them, but we don't. Remember, I mentioned to you recently that one, we have the seriousness of the government about implementing policies and making sure that the policies achieve their aim. We have the issue of startup being strangled at infancy by government agencies, quote and unquote. Somebody starts a small business here today. Before you know, 10 agencies are coming with plenty bills that the entire capital of that business cannot even cater for. The business packs up. What is the government doing to protect that small business at infancy so that it can grow to a level that it can truly add to the economy? That is on the one side. On the other side, you see issues of corruption. The process that you go to get license, the process of getting some kind of regulatory support and all of that, they are all big issues. There are the legal issues there that we cannot finish discussing. You want to talk about the human resource problem, where it is easy. Ask anybody that is into any form of small business in this country, and they will tell you the horrible stories that you will never believe is happening. It is difficult to find people in this country who are competent and honest. As a consultant who specializes mostly in SMEs, I have heard a lot of stories. I have seen a lot of business close down because the people who have been recruited to manage the business has run it aground. So we have a lot of things to put in place to ensure that we are able to get these raw materials processed before we take them out. There's the issue of standards, quality assurance, and all of that. You can, some of the things, because nothing works in this country, somebody can put a low quality product in a package, sell to us. The most you can do, if you don't like it, you don't buy that brand again. At most. That is the most you can do.
The worst part is that now leads you to go for a foreign brand.
Exactly. So that cannot go to another economy where they are serious. So our standard organization needs to rise up. Our regulatory authorities need to rise up so that we can create a strong image for products coming from Nigeria. Yeah. I learned that the Nigerian copper wire is one of the best in the world, and people pay premium for it. If we can do that for copper wires, why can't we do it for every other things?
All right, so let's take a look at this chart here, and it shows Nigeria's major export trading partners. Now we have India with 14.78% and Spain with 12.22%, Italy with 8.69%, France with 7.08%, and then Netherlands with 4.78%, and then 52.45% represent other countries. Now, in the past, even as of 2020, we didn't have a lot of intercontinental trade.
Yes.
And this is obviously the same case here, because as it is, it's not one of our major, or one of the major countries we actually export to. Now, do you feel like this would pose a problem to us and the relationship that we have with other African countries if we continue to export mainly to, countries in other continents?
You see, Africa as a continent has really never gotten it right when it comes to international trade. We hardly trade with one another. I think that's what the AFTA is out to solve, the African Free Trade Zone Agreement. I think that is what is out there to resolve. And the fact that we don't look at the opportunity within ourselves is making us vulnerable to the entire world. We are not coming together to say, let's solve our problem holistically as a continent. So that is affecting our relationship already. And that is what I think with the AFTA and with Nigerians' assent to it and the rest of it, they are going to look into that. I hope they do. And I hope that youth also across Africa also stimulate this process and to make sure that we trade more among ourselves. It's important that Africa meets its local demand before we can take out to other countries. It will make us stronger. It will boost the activities in our country. And then, of course, this will lead us to the issue of brain drain, where the best of us are taken out of Africa to go and contribute to other countries. So at the end of the day, we are losing everything. We are losing our brains, we are losing our raw materials, we are losing our strength. So it's important for us to focus on trade within Africa. And as we build for a better trade, I say a better trade, but specifically with other continents. Yes, we need to trade with other continents. That's how our global, our currency is going to be stronger in the global market and all of that. But if we effectively meet our needs within Africa, we'll have a better Africa, and then we'll have a stronger Africa. So definitely, the fact that we are not trading with other African countries that much is generally affecting us as a continent.
All right, so on our own part as Nigeria, what can actually be done to improve that intercontinental trade?
Nigeria is the giant of Africa. We should live up to that expectation. A time has come where we should move from this our local ethnic sentiments, these our local religious divides, these our regional nuisance, and move to be the leader of Africa. And to do that, we have to fix ourselves. And when we fix ourselves, we can now carry our brothers along. Nigeria needs to lead by our numerical strength, by our economic strength, and all other strengths that we have. If we are able to put ourselves together, chart a single direction, all other African countries will follow because they look up to us. So Nigeria, as the big brother, should become focused. We should move away from where the man is from to how well is the man doing the job. What is the Nigerian dream? What is the vision of the country called Nigeria in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years, in the next 200 years? How well is this president taking us close to that goal? Those are the kind of questions we should begin to ask. So by fixing Nigeria, pointing Nigeria in the right direction, so that Nigeria can be strong and stand on its feet to be able to carry other African countries along. If we don't do that, we may not be going far. And Nigeria has to take the lead.
Why specifically Nigeria? Just because we're called the giants of Africa?
Not just because we are called the giant of Africa, but because we have a lot of strengths. I just mentioned the numerical strength. I just mentioned our economic strength. Let's not go into the natural resources that we have in abundance here. And then the human resources, based from our numerical strength, we have a lot of. If you go out there, any field or specialty, you have a Nigerian at the top of it. So we can use that. Right. And this other country have a lot of respect for us. They look up to us. They hope that one day Nigeria will find it fit, and then Africa will find it fit. So it's up to us to own our challenge, identify it as real challenge, start fixing them so that we will do well for the rest of Africa. Look at the roles we have played in the past across Africa. Look at the role Nigeria played in the South Africa during the apartheid.
Yes.
Look at the role of Nigeria in Liberia, the role of Nigeria in different other countries. I think it's Sudan also. We have been the big brother. No one says we should stop. And we can't stop for the sake of ourselves and Africa. Because you see, whatever happens in any country in Africa affects the rest of us. You know, I read a report somewhere, and I have been following it up from Obama's time and all of that. And what part of what we suffer today as insecurity across Africa is an offshoot of the onslaught in Libya with Gaddafi. You see, so you might think it doesn't concern me. But then, look at the results. So, Nigeria, as one of the biggest economy, or the biggest economy in Africa, should rise up to expectation and take that responsibility.
Let's take a look at our next image here. We're going to take a look at the total exports for Q4 of 2020. Now, agricultural produce was at 1.75%, raw materials 1.47%, solid minerals 0.14%, energy goods 0.16%, manufactured goods 4.0%. 4.04%, and crude oil was at 78.93%, and then other petroleum products were at 13.52%. So even as of 2020, you could see that crude oil was our top export.
Yeah.
And right now, it's still the same case where crude oil, crude oil is still our top export. And the disparity, should I say, the difference between the export and the rest of them is a lot.
Oh, yes.
It's quite high.
Oh, yes.
Now, looking at this, has the government shown a lack of political will when it comes to the diversification of our economy?
You see, I wouldn't say the government may not have shown enough commitment. Why I won't say that is this thing takes reasonable amount of time to materialize. So the truth is that government after government since 1999 has been talking about economic diversification, to diversify away from the crude oil and all of that. And then during the time of Goodluck Jonathan and this particular administration, they have also focused on agriculture and all of that. But then, how effective are these policies? And how soon can one begin to see the result depends on a lot of things. For instance, some of the policies we have now, although they may have covered the entire value chain for agriculture, not all the entire value chain are currently currently in operation. To that extent, you might not begin to see an increase in agricultural exports. We are talking about manufacturing. There's a lot of interventions out there, cheap loans out there for people to take and all of that. But we have not fixed the regulatory issues. We have not fixed the taxation issues. We have not fixed the security issues. So as long as these things are there, and these other factors are warring against it, throwing money at it is not going to solve it.
Of course not.
So what you see there is the crippling effect of these other factors that have not been holistically handled. That is what you are seeing. That is why we are not seeing results in the export of other things. I was talking with a friend the other day and I learned that, you can easily get a license to go and do mining for solid minerals, and then there are even interventions and all of that. But people are not taking it. Why? There are other issues. He gave me one example that a client of his bought a site in a community, and when he took his equipment there for exploration, the community had issues with them. When he settled one faction, another faction sprang up. When he settled that faction, the other faction sprang up. So he had to sell the equipment and leave. So these are issues that, if not resolved, no matter how much money you throw on the problem, it won't go away. So we need to holistically solve this problem to be able to move from where we are and begin to see significant increase in the export of these other items. Otherwise, for a long time, we are going to continue to rely on crude oil. And that is why whenever the market for crude oil sneezes, we catch cold.
Exactly. Because we are highly dependent on it.
We are highly dependent on it. A lot of effort. And then another thing, we have to also look at how the other tiers of our government are taking these policies and domesticating them. What are the governors doing? Because we have a lot of mineral resources, we have a lot of economic opportunities in different states of the Federation. How are the governors marshalling these resources to help us grow economically? When the governors only collect money, pay political allowance and pay salaries, and then wait for the next month for government to share money, then of course we are not going to go anywhere. Because the federal government in itself is nothing, it's just a framework. The real activities happen in states. What are the states doing? If you look at the economic activities of our states, now you see that not more than 6 states are actually economically viable. So these are political issues on the other side. And these are things that the media and the rest of us who understand these little issues should begin to create awareness of, so that our people during election should now think of who can make our state economically viable.
Exactly. All right, unfortunately, we do not have enough time to continue the discussion, but I'll just say this, Nigeria as a country has its work cut out for it when it comes to developing intercontinental trade, and also when it comes to building up the import level export level in Nigeria,
Of course.
and closing the gap and bridging that gap and creating a balanced trade situation for the country.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we've come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guest in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson, for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Just look us up at TrustTV News. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.